everyone, it's Haley, and today I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review for Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas. So as usual for my reviews of series, this review will be spoiler-free as long as you have read the first 4 books in this series. So as long as you have read Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, Heir of Fire, and Queen of Shadows, you will be good. And really you will have wanted to read The Assassin's Blade as well before you kind of dive into this. So go and read those, and then you may continue this video and hear more of my thoughts on it. So like I kind of mentioned, this is the 5th book and the second to last book actually of the Throne of Glass series. The last and 6th book is coming out next September, which is so crazy. I have no idea what Sarah J. Maas is going to write after that, but whatever it is, I know I'll be reading it. Sarah J. Maas's writing is something that I love, but I hate. I have a really mixed relationship with it because I feel like I really love reading about the world because it's so intricate and the characters are so lifelike, but at the same time, her books take me centuries to read. You guys know that I was reading this book for like the first 3 weeks of September, so I hardly read anything in September because I was reading this book. Now it looks like it's short. It's very deceiving though because these pages are super thin. It's just something about her books, they don't read quickly. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's because there's so much going on and she's writing such an intricate story that I really have to pay attention to what's happening, and I can't really just go through it quickly. I have to really like stop and pay attention because it drains me. Like physically I am drained and I need a nap after reading like 1 page of this book. Now I do think Sarah J. Maas is a genius writer because all of her plots kind of intertwine and then they come together in this way that you could never imagine, or at least I couldn't. But at the same time, I think that characterization is something that needs to be worked on. I think that characters are changing through the series in a way that is kind of inexplicable, and I had an issue with it back in Queen of Shadows where, I mean, one of the main characters doesn't just feel like themselves. Kaol really just became this character that I wasn't familiar with. And I'm not trying to say that people should stay the same, like the characters should stay the exact same throughout the series, but I think that some of the changes in their characterization were just a little bit of a stretch, because they seem like a completely different character from the first few books. Like this series is complicated because the first 2 books are so much different, and I think Reagan said this in her review, but the first two books are so different than the last few. So it's almost like a completely different series because it starts to get very intricate and very like complicated. And you see that with the characters as well. They kind of become different people. And in some cases it works and in some cases it doesn't. I think where this series really changed is when it introduced the Manon plot. And I love the Manon plot though, and I don't know if that's how you actually say her name, Manon. I've heard it said a million ways. I don't think there's really a correct pronunciation, so we're just gonna go with it. But when that was introduced with the whole witches, that really is where the book came to change, because it became this whole different story and was kind of 2 stories in one, and then you get all these different plots. Like you got even a new story in this one that is intertwining, so you've got all these things going on that intertwine, and her writing of it is very interesting, but like I said, not fast-paced at all. I love the characters when they kind of stay close to who they were in the beginning and true to like who they originally were. Aileen, I think as much as she has changed from being Selena and become this new person, you still get that aspect of Selena in her, and you still see that. You still see her true to who she was in the beginning. You see it coming through with her emotions, her actions, her choices, and I think she does, for the most part, stay true to her original characterization. Even though she is basically a completely different character, she's also very similar to who she was originally. And she's a character that I love because she's empowered and she really just doesn't care, and I do have some issues with some of the decisions she makes sometimes, but at the same time, I think that she is good for a queen. She is kind of that picture perfect queen who's a badass and doesn't really care what anyone else thinks and is gonna do what's best for her and her kingdom. Rowan, I know people love him, but I just don't really have much of an affection for him because In all honesty, I have some trouble sometimes distinguishing him from the characters in her other series, A Court of Thorns and Roses. He just reminds me so much of some of the characters in there that sometimes I just find it hard to set him apart. And I do enjoy him, but at the same time, I mean, it's hard for me to really love him because I feel like I'm reading the same character in a different book, if that makes any sense. I do like his relationship with Aileen, though. I think they're really great together, and I really hope that they stay together for the rest of the series and the rest of everything, because they can't be apart because she's gone through so much. They just need to stay together. One of my issues was one of the very main characters in the first few books did not show up in this book, and that was very disappointing. But that being said, you did get some of the characters from the previous two books who really got, they came to life more in this book, and you got to know more about them, which was really awesome. I love Manon. She is one of my favorite characters, and I think that the whole witch plot is awesome. It's one of my favorite things to read about, and at points in this book I enjoyed reading that part more than the Aileen parts, but I love how they interact. I love how those two plots come together, and I think Manon is such a lively and, like, I don't want to say spiky, but like sprightly character, I guess. She's spunky. Spunky is the word that I'm looking for. She's very spunky, and I think that she is really starting to veer off the path in this book, and I love it. Love seeing her rebel. You also get some new characters in this book who were really enjoyable, and it just kind of added more to the story, and they filled in some pieces that were missing, and it was really great to see those kind of the puzzle pieces coming together. Now, the plot of this book, like I said, is super intricate, super complicated, and that's where it became hard for me. Now, personally, I like fantasies where I can really understand it easily, and this one it's really great, but at the same time, it requires a lot of thought and a lot of like contemplation of what's going on to try and figure it out. I'm not someone who really likes to sit there and try and figure out what's happening. I like to kind of be told what's happening, but that's just kind of my reading style. But at the same time, I think that Sarah J. Maas does like this very intricate and like woven web of plots that you can't help but love when it all comes together, because you're like mind blown. Like, this series blows my mind over and over again, and it is just, I know it's going to continue doing it. It's one of those series that gets better and better with every book, and I think even the plot, like, it's so hard to review the plot because there are so many aspects to it, but I think that the aspects really work well together, and it's just this complicated, intricate fantasy world that if you want to escape the real world, this book is pretty much perfect for you, because there is nothing that resembles the real world in it. I think in this book too, you got some of the answers that you were looking for. I would have preferred more answers, but at the same time, I know that I will get those answers in the final book, and I'm really anxious to see, though, because there's so many loose ends still, how it's all going to get tied up in a pretty package like she usually does. I feel like some characters are going to have a fate that I'm not exactly going to be happy with, but I'm really anxious to see. And one of the questions that I get asked a lot is, when should I read Assassin's Blade? Personally, I read it before I even started the rest of the series, because that was the way that I like to read it, but I think if anywhere, you need to read it either before you read Heir of Fire or after you read Heir of Fire, because it's getting to the point where there are, sorry, my computer monitor just turned off, that's why the lighting is weird, and it's raining, but there are some things that are going on, some plot points in it starts mostly, like, it starts in Heir of Fire, but then in Queen of Shadows it really becomes prevalent, and in this one you definitely have to have read Assassin's Blade to understand fully what is going on. So overall, I ended up giving this book a 5 out of 5 stars. I think the series is fantastic, and I can't wait to see where it's going. It's super hard for me to understand, and I complain the whole time I'm reading it because it takes so much out of me, but at the same time, I absolutely love it. So yeah, let me know if you guys have read this book, your thoughts on it, or if you want to discuss any spoilery things, then just comment down below, but make sure to put a spoiler alert before your comment, and we can discuss down there. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!